Last week on the Senate floor, we cast several votes in regard to the so-called payroll tax holiday. I opposed both the Republican and Democrat amendments. There were certain differences between these two versions, mainly in the way the provisions were paid for. And while I supported the pay-fors in the Republican plan, I objected to what the pay-fors were paying for. I support freezing members of Congress's pay, eliminating certain benefits for millionaires, and reducing the federal workforce. But wouldn't it be better to use these savings to reduce the debt and deficit rather than to make a short-term change that reduces revenues going to the Social Security Trust Fund? When are we going to admit that we're broke? I'm reminded of a plan approved by Congress just several years ago where we borrowed money to give citizens a $600 rebate, all in the name of a stimulus. We wanted to stimulate the economy, and in my view, we stimulated little and increased the debt a lot. Many of us have expressed support for the concepts contained in the Bowles-Simpson Deficit Reduction Plan. Their recommendations were very important, and they need to be paid attention to. And we've expressed our desire to proceed in that way over and over. But the legislation that we voted on last week uses many of their suggested reductions in spending, not for deficit reduction, but for another stimulus plan. The Bowles-Simpson plan has been hijacked in the name of stimulating the economy. These proposals also undermine the foundation of Social Security by reducing the payments into the trust fund. We should leave the trust fund alone and cut spending and use those savings to pay down our annual deficits and begin to live within our means. Once again, we're putting off difficult decisions and leaving it up to our children and grandchildren to pay for our irresponsibility. Finally, let me once again make the case for certainty in our tax code. Congress was tinkering with the tax code last week, creating greater uncertainty. In almost every conversation I have with a small business owner, they ask for certainty in the tax code and certainty in the regulatory environment. But instead, we're attempting to change the tax code one more time for a short period of time, claiming some benefit by doing so. Instead, we should focus on long-term tax policy and develop a tax code that is simpler and certain. Certainty is something that will create jobs. I expect there to be some criticism of the votes I cast last week, and I can hear the campaign sound bites. But we've got to get beyond the next election and take care of the next generation.